Hello, wherever you are, and welcome to the COVID Conversations. My name's Kyl Reber. You'll see the awesome backdrop that is now getting used a little bit. I'm sanding my house at the moment. Actually, I'll rephrase that because my wife's watching. My wife is sanding my house at the moment, our house. So, yeah, it's a nice little background in beautiful Brisbane, Queensland, Australia. With me to my right or left, I have Tania Rowan. Tania Rowan is a old friend of mine. We have known each other for many years now, meeting through martial arts, but over the last probably 3 years in particular, we have started to spend a lot more time together, doing a lot more things for the common and greater good. So this is another one of our COVID conversations. You'll find other episodes on my YouTube channel, which we'll talk about more at the end of this interview. But enough about me, let's talk about you. Hello there, Tania Rowan. How are you?
Hello, Kyl Reber. I'm well. Thank you.
You have a lot of gym equipment and a big black dog working around in the background there.
Yes, so, I'm hoping she doesn't start scratching one out now that we've started.
We're very well protected. So you hail from country Victoria?
I do, yeah. I live in a little, let's call it a suburb. It's a farming area called Tesbury, which is between Cobden and Camperdown. So it's pretty close to the Great Ocean Road, close to the 12 Apostles.
And you spent the greater portion of your life there?
I've lived here all my life, yep. So I grew up in a town called Cobden.
So we're going to jump straight into the barbecue intro. Now, we did a little bit of a test run through as I do each time, and your test run was interesting. So I'm going to grab my beer. It's too early for a beer. It's not 5 o'clock yet. G'day, mate. My name's Kyle. What's your name? What do you do?
Hi, I'm Tania. I'm a mum and a wife, and I have a personal training studio. And that's my sort of basic standard intro, because it's a bit of a depends now, where I am, who I'm with, and yeah, go on.
Yeah. Now, a lot of that has got to do with one of the many things in your spare time, and you're one of these people that I wonder whether you actually do sleep. You're in the final process of a psychology degree.
Yep.
So you were highlighting, and you were highlighting a couple of little things you look for when someone will walk up and ask these sorts of questions. So can you delve a little bit into that, because that was really interesting.
So first of all, I tend to read people's body language sort of when I meet them. Like, so with a barbecue introduction, just as an example, if their body is facing me, but their feet are turning away, to me, that's a fairly good sign that they just want the hell out of here. They might be asking out of politeness, but do they really want to know much about me? So if they want to know more, they'll tend to ask another question. If they've just done, oh yeah, great, and then walked away, then great, let them go. I haven't had to delve too much. And I just tend to read the situation. Another one is probably more experience. If I delve in and say, I do a personal trainer, I teach martial arts, which I'm not ashamed of in any way, but then I've had experiences, particularly with guys, where they'll go, oh, so how do you get out of this? And then they'll grab you and, you either stand there looking like a dickhead or you react. And I used to just go, I'm not going to do anything. But years and years ago, one of Pete's mates did it, and he just would not let up. So I did react, and he couldn't work for 2 weeks because I damaged his wrist. And, so it was like I was the baddie. I was like, well,
And every barbecue after that, he was suddenly, he couldn't make it when he found out you were going.
He did. Eventually, he did apologize.
I've not seen him since.
Yeah. So it's a very big depends, as to how much I give away and what I sort of, I want to know if they're genuinely interested as well. And I tend to ask people about them. I really like to get to know people as well.
That's what I was just about to ask, because being your background, and obviously that you studied human behaviour a fair bit, are you one to ask questions? So if you were doing a barbecue intro, what questions would you ask? Would you start stuff that sort of probes in instead of a what do you do, or is it sort of how would you?
I would read the situation and the people.
So for the first time, what would you ask?
I would have been watching, probably would have watched you for a little bit first, and if if you'd have been somebody that was just out there raving about yourself, I probably wouldn't ask you too many questions because I've probably got a bit of an idea of your personality. But if I was just to meet you, I'd want to know, you know, oh, what's your name? Where are you from? Then I'd also listen back to what you were telling me and try to get your vibe. Like, I want to know, are you interested in having this conversation? And your body language will probably tell me a fair bit about that. You know, the energy that you put out. Then I'm going to ask you about, you know, what it is that you do. Do you have a family? If you told me that you had a martial arts school, then I would, you know, want to know what style of martial arts. Then that would just elaborate to other interests, and always find something to pick up on. And I always think you can always learn something from someone, even if, you know, you might not have the same interest.
Do you find, probably again with your study, because one of my things I've always said, there's a fine line between confidence and arrogance. Do you find that with people, there is a line between them being humble in conversations and then also just being over the top? Because I mean, like you said before, you're proud of what you do. You're a personal trainer, you're a martial artist, but is there still that line sometimes where you go, I don't want to give too much information too quickly? Or, you know, is there that point where in a conversation you go, okay, I think I know you well enough to start really delving into that sort of thing?
Yeah. Every conversation you have with someone is different. So and it's probably gauged by the questions that they ask back. So I wouldn't just go, hey, guess what? I do martial arts. It would have to be, there would have to be questions and, you know, conversation around it. And it's not necessarily just question after question. It's usually through conversation.
Yeah. So like, you'd have people that you've been working with in martial arts for a long time. Do you find that because they have that in common with you, that's therefore the only thing they ever talk to you about? You know?
No, not really.
Or they stop and go, oh, you have got a family. Oh, you have got kids.
No, especially, I think particularly in the last probably 10 to 15 years, it's really kind of changed.
Yeah.
And
so it wasn't always like that. It was martial arts, and anything else is secondary.
Yeah. And I guess for me, when I catch up with these friends, I love talking martial arts because I don't have a lot of friends that are into martial arts. But a lot of the people that I do connect with through martial arts, and there's a lot of them, they know about my family or they've met my family. And Facebook's been great for that as well. I think we've talked about this before. Years ago, I was away studying, doing my diploma in fitness, and because I was away from home, I went to Melbourne to train, which is about 3 hours from where I live. And we have an instructor in our system, Kyoshi Sam Kadachi, and Sam's a really big family man. And he said to me, boy, you've been away from home a lot. And I was like, yeah, I have. You know, it was a case of having to do this diploma. But he said to me, and it's something that's always stuck, never forget rule number 1. I was like, oh, what's rule number 1? He goes, family comes first. I was like, oh, yep, that makes sense. And then I went, well, what's rule number 2? He goes, see rule number 1.
Rule number 1.
You know, I've never forgotten it. But he, you know, so in the last 10 years, I think it's really changed. People are, there's a lot more family involvement in martial arts these days. So yeah.
You're on the road, so to speak, a lot with martial arts.
Yeah.
Like I would say, before we got told we can't go on the road, I would go probably on average every second weekend easily. You're doing something involved with martial arts?
Possibly, yeah.
And being in a country town, how far is Melbourne from you? A few hours?
2.5 to 3, depending which part of Melbourne I have to go.
That's a lot of, I don't know, effort, a lot of commitment to continue with that. Why do you keep doing it?
Because I love it. It's one of my hobbies, and it's probably one of my passions, but it's also...
that's a question. When does the hobby become the passion?
I don't know. That's a good question. But
I can play bridge with my mates once a week, but if I've become passionate about it...
Yeah.
I mean, we might be moving into the next question, but it's always something that I've wondered with you.
Yeah, well, we don't have any other higher ranked instructors here. So I have to go, if I want to keep learning, I have to make that effort. And I have a really supportive family, which makes a massive difference. And they support me to be able to go and go and learn from the people that I have to learn from. And
that's big
yeah,
because they're not as involved in martial arts as you
no,
are. And that
no,
would be
Josh was, but I mean, he moved away to uni, so nobody. No, Pete, he's really good because years ago when I did take a break, when the kids were really little, I was sort of forced to take a break with an injury. He actually said to me, "Do you want to go back and do martial arts?" And I was like, "Yep." I was told I could never do martial arts again from an injury, and he said, "Why don't you just go back and try? Because you are a much, much happier person all round when you do it."
I get that too.
Yeah, it's just something that I really enjoy for me, and I think, I just got a lot out of martial arts in all aspects, not just the fitness.
Yeah.
There's so many sides of it that I really, really enjoy. Yeah.
And I guess because of that family and the family attitude of training, the supportive family, it's easier and to continue. Like you've never had that moment where you've gone, like getting in the car, like here we go again. It's more of an excitement. I get to go and learn more. I get to go and do more.
Yeah. I don't have to do it. I don't have to. Nobody forces me to go and do this. But if I want to get better, I get to do it. Yeah, and that's a big thing. Some people don't have that opportunity just to get in the car and be able to drive 3 hours, or to fly interstate and and go to a camp, or and there is absolutely the friendships that you make through this stuff as well. I was joking when I come to Queensland, I think I know nearly more Queenslanders that train than I do Victorians. Like, I
think you do.
I feel like an honorary Queenslander when I come to Queensland.
It is. It really resonated with me. I was in Christchurch earlier this year, and I walked into Proactive where we were training, and it was just a sea of "G'day Kyle, g'day Kyle." It was just this, and there was that moment where I went, this is cool. But I am in another country, even though it's New Zealand. It is considered another country, and I'm there, and it's just that immediate family. So do you when people are complaining that they don't want to go to that because it's half an hour away, do you just look at them and go, "Bitch, please," or
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I know when we were training for fourth degree, we were in Melbourne pretty much every second weekend, having to do specific fourth degree training, and it was sort of I think it was grand final, like AFL grand final time, and some of the guys wanted to start at 9 o'clock in the morning, and we had to have all our helpers with us. So one of my helpers is a dairy farmer, and he was up at 4 o'clock anyway to milk cows, and I had to say to them, that's just not going to work for us. And I had to explain that so two of my helpers were dairy farmers, and they'd already done half a day's work before we left to go to Melbourne on a normal day. So I suggested that they come to us, that they would have had to have been left by 6:30 in the morning to get and they're like, oh, it's too early, we can't do that. I was like, man, we do that all the time. Myself and Matt Mellington and even Mick Clark, Mick, we travel a lot because it's what we love and we want to do it. And we don't complain about it. So
it's just part of the contract.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So probably moving back just a little bit, what are you passionate about, Tania Rowan?
I'm passionate about helping other people, helping them be the best version of themselves. I think that probably is me too. I like to try and be the best that I can be.
So just on that, is there something that occurred, or is there a reason that passion exists? Was there a moment that you went, I want to do that more?
Not really.
If you look at what you do, you're one day going to be a psychologist. You're nearly finished. You're a personal trainer. You're a martial arts instructor. You're a mum. You're a wife, which all involves helping people and helping others. Is there something that in that mix, that continues to drive you forward? Because again, doing a psychology degree part-time is how long has it taken you? 27 years or something? Or does it feel like...
There's probably two parts to that one. As for what's driven me, I could never really answer that. And a couple of years ago, I was talking to a friend who's a psychologist, And she just said, oh, I think something changed in you. I'm going to take a guess when you're around 15, something's, switched. And I was like, nah, don't think so. And anyway, and then a year or so later, a school teacher that I had passed away. And, I just had this really indifferent feeling. And that school teacher had said to me when I wanted to apply for a job, I worked in pharmacy for about 13 years. When I wanted a reference for that job, I'd asked him if he would do it, write one. And he said to me, don't waste your time or mine. You're not good enough. You won't get the job. But he didn't say it once. He said it 3 times. And that definitely had an impact on me and what I do, because as my kids said, Mum, we know it did, because for the last 20-something, 30 years, that's all you've mentioned it nearly every week. Did you just tell me I can't do that? Well, okay, I'm going to show you that I can do that. Not necessarily to that degree, but, there was always that element of like, even if I had self-doubt, am I going to be able to do this? Oh, probably not. And then I'd get that voice in my head, and then I'd be like, you know what? I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it. I'll say yes, and then I'll work out how I'm going to do it.
So you're that sort of thing about, I'm going to do this. I'm not terribly sure how, but I'll figure it out as I go.
Pretty much.
One way that you and I have become very close is our work with the 4 North project.
Yep.
So when you got approached to do that sort of stuff, which involved overseas travel, traveling to a third world community, doing a lot of work, staying in conditions that are beyond all of our comfort zones, was it just a case of, I want to do this and I'll figure it out, because in the end of the day, I'll help people? Because there'd be other people that would go, well, I need to figure this, and this, and then I'll go home and I'll do a SWOT analysis and then I'll give you an answer. Or did you just go, yep, and I'll fucking figure out the rest?
Not really. I've been asked to do it previously and I'd said no because it wasn't the right time.
Yeah.
But it's been done before, but I did want to be able to help make a difference. So I knew that the going and the doing part was going to be doable. Like, Matt works from 4 North, he'd been doing that for quite some time. So that part didn't concern me, and I knew that I'd physically be able to get there. It was actually, how am I going to build this program? And who am I going to get to help me do it? Because it needed more than me. And then it was, it just we built it as on the fly. But
it was an opportunity you didn't want to miss.
Yeah, and that's a big thing for me, is opportunity. I like to find opportunities in whatever I can and take those opportunities. Because living in a small country town, we've always been told, living in a small town, you don't get those opportunities. You just won't get the opportunities that the city kids will get. And if anything, I would say that's probably the biggest load of bullshit that any person can tell a country kid. Yeah.
You have a look, and again, I could be wrong, but there is more, growing up in a country town myself, more than enough, athletes, politicians, prime ministers, doctors, lawyers that have all hailed from country towns.
Oh, absolutely. We've got
it's an unconscious hurdle, if you want to do it, you'll find.
We've got quite a few guys from our small little town, 5 minutes away, that play AFL, and then even we had this small club for karate, and we wanted to bring somebody to our club, to our town, to help our students. So we opened it up to clubs all around the district, and we brought Sam Solomon in, we brought Richard Norton in, and we had 60-something people on the floor in a small country town. That's huge. Like, there was just, those opportunities are there, and often they're presented to us and we go, oh, I can't do that. Just do it. So you either take it and run with it and hope for the best, or you turn it down and it usually moves on to somebody else. I'm like, well, you know what?
So growing up in a country town, and I'm trying not to be too general about people that have grown up in larger cities, do you find people from country towns are sometimes hungrier?
And I don't know about hungrier. I think that comes back to the individual. I really do. Yeah. I have lots of people I know that just don't have any desire or interest to do a lot of the stuff that I would do, or even in any other sport, they're quite happy just doing what they want. And I have friends in the city that have that drive, that just want to achieve and do different things. So I think that's an individual thing.
Yeah.
But I think country kids need to also know that they have the opportunity. There's lots of possibilities there.
There is nothing stopping them from achieving those things too. And yeah, there is that thing. I remember, well, this is back when I moved to university. There wasn't any option other than moving to go to university back then. So now that's all changed, which is great.
Yeah, that's right.
Bucket list.
Bucket list. This was a really interesting one because I used to have a really full bucket list, and then I started ticking them off. And this for me probably comes back to opportunities, because I would, I'd have this bucket list of something I wanted to do, and then I might do it. And depending on what it was, I might meet different people through that experience. And then through that, opportunities arose. So I kind of stopped building that bucket list after I started ticking it off, and just started going with the flow with opportunities that were presenting, because I found that I was getting, I was experiencing a lot more things, and not waiting, that's a bucket list thing. I want to do that. That's a long-term goal. I tended to come back and start doing a lot more of short-term things, like not a short-term goal, but things that I could do in the now or in the next few months, instead of thinking, okay, I want to do that, but that's probably something I'll have to do in a few years.
Yeah.
So, but as like a bucket list thing, travel. I'd love to play an instrument. I'm not musically talented at all, but I love music. So those two things, a bit more travel, and
Is there
and
anywhere?
I have set goals.
Yeah. Is there any destinations in particular?
I'd love to go to the Greek islands. I went to Italy 3 years ago, and I loved it. We didn't have time to do Greece, but Greece, I'd love to go to that country. And I'd love to go to Scotland, Ireland, and England.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's on the bucket list, I'd say. There's always things. It's always something I want to do. There's always a plan there somewhere.
Do you feel in that regard, and I've spoken to a few people, because travel is one thing that is on a lot of people's bucket list.
Yeah.
Do you feel the clock is ticking, or something that there's no time frame on it? Or
really.
I've left it too late? Did you start traveling when you were young? Like, what was the first time you went overseas?
I went overseas on my honeymoon. I was 21.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I've been to the States 4 or 5 times. Canada, I've been to a few countries, but not massive, but I'd like to do more traveling. I don't have a time frame on it. We have a dairy farm, so a lot of our travel, if I want to take my husband with me, it's dependent on the dairy farm. That's probably a joint decision on that one.
Yeah. And is that so where in particular? Oh, sorry. Here's no. You want to play a musical instrument? What's your number one preference?
Or I think guitar, because you can travel around and have a guitar with you, whereas a piano could be a bit tricky.
Yeah, no, they're heavy. What all right. Would you if you were to play a musical instrument, would you ever consider playing in a band?
If I was good enough, yeah. If I could play a good few songs and not stuff up all the time, I'd probably do it.
What would you name the band?
Oh, I don't know.
The Milkmen?
God, that's a really random question. I don't know. I'd be someone in the back of the band. I wouldn't be a front person for a band, that's for sure.
Right. You'd be rhythm guitars, not lead guitars.
Yeah, I don't think I'd be backing vocals either.
There'd be no Angus Young action happening.
No, and they would not put a microphone in front of me.
Do not put that thing near me. Put that thing away from me. All right. So the current situation in the world. So you live in the country, live on a dairy farm. What do you think as a society you'll take away? But just maybe to start that off, where you are, is it still something that's prominent where you are, or is it just sort of a thing that's on TV and that's it?
No, it's pretty prominent. I mean, we'd had some local cases, and I think this has affected every town throughout the country. I don't think it's
no one's safe.
the city, and because we all have these restrictions, and there was craziness at the supermarkets, and it's definitely affected our town. As to what will we take away from it, I think we'll all be a bit more grateful for the things that we could do freely. I don't believe we've had any freedoms removed. I feel everything that they've done has been for our safety. I hope what we get out of it is the understanding that we can actually take a step back, because we get so busy being busy, and you've got those type A personalities that are go, and think that they can't stop for anything because, either other people have demanded things of them, or they've committed, or they just love to do a lot of stuff. Hello. You and I are both probably a little bit like that.
And that's one thing, because I don't know if you noticed, but I kind of baited you into this, because your personal training business is closed at the moment. And you made a decision to close. You were told to, but you just also went, it's just easier.
I did it just the week before. I could kind of see the writing on the wall, and just listening and getting the vibe from my own clients, I kind of went, you know what, let's just shut. Doing some sessions online, but yeah.
Yeah. And then your the martial arts side of things is very much on the formal back burner.
Yep.
Are you, like, I've had a lot of people ask me this because of my situation, and the government has told me what I can and can't do, and there's still a lot of people that have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with, I can understand 100% why I need to be closed, even though it's financially not the best thing in the world, but we'll limp our way through it. We had a little chat earlier. Do you see that there's some people out there that are still getting their back up about it? And is it like a thing for you where you're going, do you just not understand this just has to happen?
Yeah, definitely. I haven't been stressed out about it at all. I'm concerned that people could get sick, and that these people have been sick. As for the closing of the business, it's a for now. It's not forever. It's just a for now. And I see that, we will gradually be able to get back to some kind of normal. But, we've got to look at the whole experience and go, righto, well, what can we learn from this? What are we going to take away from it? And, how can we grow from it? Like, you've got to find something in every experience. That's my belief.
Yeah.
And everybody handles stress differently. And I know you and I talked about this weeks ago. We're both big fans of reading about resilience. And one of the great things I found is that this is a great opportunity to start building those resilient skills, because it's going to be all about how we bounce back from this. So start focusing on, absolutely acknowledge the stress that people are under, and everybody is going to feel it differently. And I think it's really important that if you're anxious and stressed, you need to acknowledge it, not try and push it down and, just breathe through it. You've got to actually acknowledge it, because long term that is more helpful than trying to just, stop it. You've got to acknowledge it and accept that it's there. But for me, personally, it's been, all right, well, one, what am I going to do through this time? Okay, well, I've still got uni. So there's been a lot of study, and, and one of the things that I've had to study, I've been writing a research report on, is equanimity, which is part of mindfulness, and which mindfulness is all part of resilience. So it's a real passion of mine. So that, to have to be studying that and looking at research and, developing something for that, I've actually found I've now signed up to do a course on mindfulness, that I can, take people through mindfulness sessions, and that comes with an 8-week mindfulness course as well to do in my own time. But I'm going to do like a weekend online course, because it's no longer done in person, on being able to do that. Because I'm somebody, I love mindfulness stuff, but I struggle to be able to do it on my own. My brain doesn't like to stop too much. I'm better to be guided by somebody else. So I was like, well, you know what? That's a great opportunity. I'm learning about all this right now. So that just sent me, a bit of a search on Google, and here I am, found all this extra stuff to do. But
do you find that stuff is helping you in the same regard? Because I know doing this now, this is helping me, because it's not that I'm sitting around twiddling my thumbs, but it's giving me, I'm like you, I need to be busy. I need to be doing things. This is keeping me busy again. So do you find, even though people would go, oh my God, you're taking something else on, do you go, no, I need to do this in order to be busy?
Yeah, and I know outwardly people look at me and go, oh, she's just always busy, she's always doing stuff. But they don't see when I do stop. And when I do stop, I'm stopped, I'm done. Like, I might be on that couch watching YouTube or Netflix, or, I might have a book. Sometimes it's both at once, walking that dog or playing with the dog in the yard, or just, sitting down. I do stop, and I've learnt to really appreciate that, because for probably a few years, I wasn't listening to my body. And I've learnt that every 4 years, I tend to hit like a cycle. And it's not quite burnout, but 18 months ago, I hit that burnout phase and I got quite unwell. So in the last 18 months, I've taken a step back, and I've learnt to say no to people and to things, opportunities, unless I knew that they were really going to help me, go somewhere I really wanted to go, or do something I wanted to do. So, I've been a bit more particular, careful how I accept different things, because it's easy to say yes to everything.
Well, it is. It's much harder to say no, which leads me a little bit into the second question that I had. So prior, we said about how much time you spend away from home normally prior to all of this.
Mm-hmm.
Moving forward, this is a big thing I'm reading, and even talking to my family and other people's families, especially those people in martial arts, whether or not it's when this is all back, are we going to write this list of priorities out and really be more prioritizing on where, how, and who we spend our time with? So like how you were going to Melbourne maybe once every fortnight or whatever, will that maybe turn into once a month because you just want to spend more time at home? Or are you going a little stir crazy being at home too much? How's it affecting you there?
I prefer social isolation. Because we live on a farm, the only time I really see people, my gym is on our farm. We live between country towns. So through the summer holidays or holidays, if I don't work, I'm at home, and we don't just get people pop out for a visit. So it's kind of like its own form of isolation. We have some staff on the farm, but I don't go over there very often, and I stay connected to people through like this sort of stuff and social media. So I think a lot of people will be chomping at the bit to get out and socialize, because we thrive on human connection, and a lot of that is not just connection through talking. It's human touch, and I think there's friends that just want to go out and hug their friends that are struggling. I've got friends that I've noticed, and they're really out there. They're the extroverts that are always really loud and making everybody laugh. If anything, of the friends that have checked in on a few times, it's been those, because they've been the ones that have been struggling.
Absolutely. I mean, there's those Facebook memes going around where it's like, we have to stay indoors, we have to isolate, we have to do this, we have to do that. I've waited my whole life for this to happen, So there's those people.
They can't wait to get out, and but I think it comes back to that. Hopefully we realize that we don't have to go out and do all these things all at once. We can, we're going to have to gradually do things. Otherwise we'll be back to square one. That's what I believe anyway. But I think there's a lot that we can all learn from this. It's just whether we choose to acknowledge that and want to learn from it.
Are you expecting a few new clients out of this? Because people will be like, thank God I need to get my ass up and get moving again.
No, probably not a lot of new ones, probably just the ones that I had. I think a lot of people have been really active. I did a video recently for our martial arts. We noticed at the start everybody was training, and it was great. But then I started to get a few messages from people saying, oh man, I'm just so tired.
Yeah.
And it gets to that point, they were training every day with these high intensity workouts, and it was like, man, they are not designed to be done every day. And I don't know if it's because people are home and they were bored, or whether they thought, great, now is the perfect opportunity for me to work on my fitness. But we get stronger when we rest with fitness as well. And that doesn't mean just rest and don't do the work. We've got to do the hard work, but then we have to do the recovery as well, you know, to get.
And I think the other thing with your background, you know, stuff I've read too, like, I mean, fitness and health and exercise is a priority. But if you also want to have a day where you just sit on your butt and read and do that, then that's okay too. I think I've got a lot of students that I've spoken to that are genuinely scared, I guess you'd say, that, you know, I'm going to go back to training and I'm just going to get slaughtered. And it's
Yeah.
just,
And I think
yeah,
any good trainer,
we all are, but it's
yeah,
just how
any good trainer knows that you don't do that to somebody, you know, when everybody goes,
have to work our way into it.
that's exactly right. Yeah. It's, we need to gauge where everybody's at and then adapt as we go. But it comes back to that exercise is great for stress, but it is also a stress on the body. So if you're really feeling stressed out and you have that day where it's like, you know what, I just don't want to do it today. I just physically don't have that energy, and mentally, I actually just want to sit here and feel sorry for the world and myself. Do it. Acknowledge that and accept that that's how you feel at that day. And I mean, if that continues, obviously you want to, you know, look at that and get some help if you need to get help. But we're really lucky that in Australia we have lots of telehealth services when people are starting to feel that. And there are people that have openly admitted, look, I'm really struggling with this situation. I need to talk to someone. And there's services for that. But exercise is a great way of dealing with stress. We just have to, you know, sort of structure that too and be careful how much we do.
That's a good point. Like you said, it's a way to relieve stress, but it can also be a stress itself. You know, I need to train, and that's we've had a few people in particular at our club that are like that, and they're the people that I'm going to have to probably keep an eye on when we start back, and just maybe every now and then just walk over and go, just slow down, just hold up.
Yeah.
They're just not going to go bang, because it could be, especially the jiu-jitsu guys, because there's little to nothing they can do to mimic jiu-jitsu, and that body-to-body contact when they get started, that's going to hit a few of them like a freight train, me included. So, but yeah, I think again, they've just got to be happy that they're back and understand it's just going to be a process like anything else.
Have you had that talk with them about that?
Yeah, there's one in particular. He would know who he is if he's listening, one of my brown belts. And he's like, I just miss jiu-jitsu. I just miss jiu-jitsu. And I'm just saying, we just need to just take your time. And then I have others who are not at the verge of quitting, but they are genuinely scared that they're going to come back and just, you know, get slaughtered, or it's just going to be too hard. And I'm like, but it was hard when you started. And again, things like, you know, people we have prominent in our system, people like Richard Norton, you know, said if you're a lifetime martial artist, 6 months isn't really that long. You know,
That's right.
like, you'd spend more time out of action if you had a knee operation or something like that, or, you know, some sort of surgery. So it's not really that long when you get down to it. Yeah, you're gonna lose a bit of fitness and you might put on a couple of kilos, but once you get back training, it'll work itself out.
Yeah. I know when after Matt had posted the video that I did for BJMA, one of our friends over in the West, I mean, he was really disappointed. I think he has a background in exercise physiology, perhaps, and he had said that the training he was doing at home, even with weights and cardio, just wasn't enough, because I think he was about to compete in BJJ and he needed that higher intensity work. But, you know, when I read his comment, it was really the disappointment that he's going to have to work so hard to get that back. And, you know, again, there's all that negative and the downside of it, but you can still look at the positive and what are you going to be able to work on? But you can work on the mental side of it, you know, like.
And I think the difference too is everybody's going to be like that. Like, I mean, you would know too, there is an extremely small percentage, like I would reckon 3 to 5%, if that are honestly going to come back to training as fit, if not fitter.
Yeah, and I know just that guy himself. I know that guy personally. I've known him for quite a few years, and I know that he has this formidable drive. Like, he's really determined. So he's going to want that as much when we all go back. So he will get that back really quickly. But it's the unknown that I think worries people. And it's
there's no date. There's no and that I think is an issue. And like I said, there's like we was having the start, I've done a little injury to myself from now doing probably too much exercise in one plane that I'm not used to. So like you might have these people that come back, like, everyone's running the house down, so they're going to be really running fit, but now their strength has gone right down. And for jiu-jitsu, that definitely does play a part. So there's going to be this little time to marry it all up. But like you said, when we get the green light, it'll be game on.
Yeah, that's right. So I think probably the thing people, if they sort of sat back and thought about it now, is like, you can work on your fitness, but then you can work on your physical fitness, you can work on your mental fitness, if you want to call it that. If you're into BJJ or boxing or kickboxing, look at videos, start watching, be like the boxers, I remember sitting with Sam Solomon one night, and he was just watching, just like so intent watching this video. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? And he said, I'm about to fight this guy. And I just, but he kept replaying that one part just to watch. And I was like, man, that's pretty full on. But I get why they do that. It's, and things that the notes that he was taking and what he was learning from it. It was, I thought, yep, I get why athletes do that.
I watched the game, just the final thing. I watched the game, 100-man fight for Judd Reed.
Oh, yeah, he's amazing, isn't he?
And because that's one person I look to for inspiration. I love Kyokushin's probably, if Sendo Kai hadn't occurred, Kyokushin would have been probably next on the list.
Yeah.
And then I just look at that guy, because I think he was I think dead on 40 when he did that.
Yeah.
And I go, all right. So I mean, that's something to. And again, it's not that you go out and go, you're not comparing, but it's just that little bit of a drive. You just.
Is this what we're going to see from Kyl Reber, the 100-man fight?
Fucking hell! Can you imagine? I love that line where he goes, God.
I'm sure that we could set it up. I'm sure we could make it happen.
Oh God, you never know. I love that. I love that line where he's like in there. Yeah, thinking. I love that line where Juddy comes back and he's like, he says at one of the rounds, he goes, oh, I can't feel my legs. I can't move my legs. And the guy goes, that's okay. You've only got 15 rounds to go. And it's like, but he's already done 85 rounds. And you go, Jesus Christ. Yeah,
I hope that person that said it to him wasn't sparring him at the same time, because I actually had an experience. One of my students, she's going for black belt, and I had to go out and spar the black belts. And she got to me and she just put her hands down. She's like, I just can't do this. I cannot do this. And I dropped my hands, like, come on, you've only got like 10 minutes left. And with that, she did this round kick straight to my face. And I can remember a friend, Ben Hamilton, on the sidelines just laughing his head off, saying, you should never talk through sparring like that. Learned. Like, never talk. Don't be the one talking if you're doing the sparring.
and that was made. Look, so I would just like to thank you for taking the time today.
Thank you. It's been fun.
You've always been a very dear friend of mine, and I value everything you do for me, my family, and for BJMA itself. If anyone wants to get in touch with Tania, she is all over Facebook like a rash. You can also get a hold of her via other mediums, and you can have a listen to this when it goes up. If you like it, share it. If you want to pass on some comments, you can do that too, and you can subscribe, because this is going to be many more to come. But Tania, thank you.
Thank you, Reba. It's been fun.
It has been fun. I really appreciate all your time. I know you're probably you don't milk the cows, but it's probably nearly bedtime for Peter now already, isn't it?
They're out at the moment. They're due to calve, so I don't think anybody's milking. Well, that's from what I can tell anyway. There's no dairy been going the last couple of days.
Apparently. Not my department.
Not my area.
Thank you so much. And I will, of course, talk to you much sooner rather than later.
All right.
Thanks, Tania. Bye.